Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel and into another canning video. Today it looks like we are canning green beans. Now these all came out of my garden this summer, and if you guys are familiar with this little series I'm putting up, these are all the canning videos that I made through the summer that I didn't have time to edit and put up on the YouTubes for you guys. So little disclaimer as well is that I am not a professional canner. Okay, I follow the recipes that my grandma left me out of her canning recipe book, and so they may not be current, up to date with the FDA regulations. So I advise, if you are new to canning, to please go to the FDA canning website and make sure that you're reading the information all the way through. I am a rebel, okay? I do what I want. So anyway, green beans, what you're going to do is you need to make sure that you wash and snap your green beans, okay? So like green beans come when you grow them in the garden quite long, or when you buy real fresh green beans at the store, you can do that. I would never can green beans from the store just because I have no idea where that green bean came from, what's on that green bean, none of that. If it comes out of my own garden, I know what I've done to my food in the garden. So anywho, you're going to wash and snap your green beans really good. And then you have one or two choices when it comes to doing your green beans. I today in this video am hot packing them, which means that I'm going to blanch these green beans. Okay, I'm going to bring them up, boil them for 5 minutes in the water, and then I'm going to drain them and pack them hot inside of the jar. You could cold pack or raw pack your green beans, and that basically means that you put the green beans in the jar and then you put like hot water over the top of them. Either way you do it, I just prefer to blanch mine first because I don't like opening a jar of green beans where I have to let it cook for 20 minutes before the green beans are soft. So I blanch mine first. Okay, and what I'm doing here is I'm filling these jars up with my green beans with a slotted spoon so I don't get as much water. You will see me push these things down, and then I will fill up the jars to 8-inch headspace with the liquid. Now, green beans have to be pressure canned. You cannot water bath can green beans. You really have to pressure can them. So it's a little bit different. You do need a pressure canner. I use my Power XL canner. This is an electric canner. It's technically like an Instapot, but we have a setting on that allows us to can to 10 pounds of pressure. So if you live in a higher elevation, you cannot use that machine to can your vegetables. You're going to need like a Presto or something like that. If you live under the 1,000 altitude, then you should be, if you can in your area at 10 pounds of pressure, you can use that device to can. So generally, in that canner that I use, I would prefer to can these green beans in a quart-sized jar, but I do not have a bigger like Presto or an All-American yet. This is the first year that I'm actually canning, so I didn't want to go out and buy an expensive piece of equipment if I wasn't going to use it. I probably will upgrade that for this coming up canning season, after the garden season, or during the garden season I should say, because I would prefer to have like my vegetables in quarts because there's 5 people in our family and I need 2 of these pint-sized jars to feed them. So I'm using, basically, I could be saving space and saving jars if I could can in quarts. But my canner will not fit a quart. It'll only fit pints. That's why I'm doing it in pints in this video. So I am packing these down, making sure that the liquid is to that inch headspace like you want it to, trying to squeeze them all in there. Now you could go and measure all this out and be particular. I can't tell you how many pounds of green beans that was that I blanched. I just, fly by the seat of my pants, and I wait until I get a whole bunch of green beans out of the garden. And then if I have enough to make a batch, at least 7 jars, then I will do that and put that in my canner and can that. My little Power XL, it is quite good, honestly, but it only holds, I think, 5 or 7 pint jars in there. I can't remember off the top of my head now. I'm pretty sure it's 5. So, you really have to do it in batches. So then, real quickly, want to talk about botulism, because I know all you guys canner Nazis out there are going to say something about the botulism in the video. Listen, botulism cannot grow in a pH level that's less than 4.6. So if you are that concerned about having botulism, really all you got to do is get some pH strips, and when you go to open your jar up, go ahead and test your jar. If it is lower pH than that 4.6, by all means don't eat it if you feel like you might be in danger, okay? But there's all of this scared nonsense about botulism. When it comes down to it, there's really only about little over 100 cases of botulism every single year, and only 29% of that is food related. Most of the time, the botulism cases comes from things like baby formula that didn't get pressurized correctly. So in my experience, and in the way that I basically live my life, is that I would much rather take my chances with doing things myself and living my best life than listen to the FDA. Because if the FDA is telling me to make sure that I can and do things a specific way, but yet the FDA is allowing baby formula to get put on the shelf not being cooked correctly, then I think that's the problem there, not necessarily all of us home canners out there. But disclaimer, can at your own risk, okay? Don't take my word for it. Do your research and, live your best canning life. You see me in here putting a half a teaspoon of canning salt in each jar. You do not have to do that. If you're like watching your salt intake, you can can these without the salt. I just was putting the salt in for the added flavor, and I have opened these jars and have eaten them since, and I can tell you that they're not salty. As a matter of fact, I still add more salt to them when I cook them, but then I also, add a lot of butter. But if you're doing quarts here, you want to put a whole teaspoon inside the quarts if you're going to add salt, or you can just put the half a teaspoon in there. It doesn't really matter. It's all depending on your flavor and your taste. You will find that once you start canning, you just kind of do your own thing. You're going to remove the air bubbles. You're going to wipe the rims of the jars so that, nothing is stuck on there. So when you go to put your seals on it or your lids on it, it'll get that really good seal. So what I do in my XL is it will automatically do the work for me. So I just put it in there, hit my canning setting, and then for the pints, you're going to want to pressure can it for 20 minutes. If you are canning this in a Presto, you're going to bring it to a boil. You're going to vent it. When it stops venting, you're going to wait 10 minutes, add the weight on your canner, and you're going to then let it cook for 20 minutes. If you're doing quarts, you want to do 25 minutes. And that's really all there is to canning green beans. So there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you do. I will continue. You will, after they come out of the canner, want to let them sit on the counter for 24 hours before you remove the rings to that. Make sure they have a seal, and then as long as you have a seal correctly, you want to go ahead and store those away. You do not want to store your jars with the rings on it. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.